Hello everyone, this is Antom64.
And this is THD.
And welcome to the HellfireComms playthrough of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. I mentioned in our playthrough of the first Castlevania that this would have probably been like way down the line if it was any other month, but July is apparently the month of 2D playthroughs for HellfireComms. So I thought, since I was in the Castlevania mood, I've been a bit hyped recently watching two best friends play Aria of Sorrow. I went back and watched Game Grunt's playthrough of Castlevania 1 and their playthrough of this game, which they never finished, by the way, although they didn't finish many playthroughs back then. And I thought, you know what? I think it's finally time to go back and beat Castlevania 3 with save states, because I'm just not that good. I played it normally with passwords, and I got up to, I think, level 10, the final stage. It was so hard I couldn't beat it, but we're gonna beat it now, and you guys are gonna watch.
We were gonna take on Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, but our lawyers, those at James Rolfe and others, have advised us it would not be particularly a good idea to cover, so no, we won't be covering that game, and we're skipping straight to 3.
I'll tell you right now, going back to Game Grumps, watch their playthrough of 2. It's a good playthrough, it's funny, it's kind of informative. They use a guide most of the time, which makes for a pretty funny running gag, but it's a good playthrough. This game takes place over 200 years before the events of Castlevanias 1 and 2, and it stars Trevor Belmont, the descendant of Leon Belmont, and Trevor in Japan is called Ralph C. Belmondo.
Really? I guess Ralph isn't really as impressive as an English name, and Trevor sounds more manly and masculine to be a vampire hunter with.
But yeah, Trevor wields the vampire killer, and he looks a little bit like Simon in this game, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, I can understand the Simon influence. I mean, Simon is in, like, a ton of fucking Castlevanias. You know how I'm always bitching that he should be in Smash?
Yeah.
One of the big reasons that Simon is in the most Castlevania games, and he's in a ton of them, so of course he'd be the best. But you know what? I've said enough about that. This is Trevor's story, so let's do it.
I love this little prayer bit at the beginning. Pray to God in heaven that this night won't be a horrible one and all that. You get your whip upgrades just like in the first game. Jobs are good'un.
A lot of people do praise this game for being one of the a significant improvement over the Castlevania formula as a whole. Like, off the top of my head, there's, like, multiple characters you could pick up, multiple branching paths, lots of replay value, like, out of the gate. Even though, again, I've heard that this game can get fucking bullshit sometimes.
Oh, Jesus. Much harder than Castlevania 1, and God knows it's harder than the second game, where you literally just walk through an empty dungeon and throw, like, magical fire at Dracula to kill him. What the hell were they thinking?
Yeah, sounds fascinating. Already, I'm loving the stage design we got here. Like, it was started outside, but now we're crawling up this cool tower with stained glass in the background. It looks really great.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for stained glass. This is Stage 1, Warakia Village. I'm not sure if that's his actual name, but it's in every guide I've read, so let's go with it.
You know, it's interesting that we're going through a place with stained glass in the background, because the new Castlevania, EGA-Vania Kickstarter, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, it has that disease where, people's arms or whatever are turning into, like, crystal, like, stained glass. And, the minute I looked at stained glass and vampires, I went, fuck, this is Kamen Rider Kiba all over again.
So I'm just laughing over here because you said EGA. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced EGA, and, like, EGA is like VGA, and I know how much of a retro adventure game nut you are.
Yeah, it's just, blame me, I guess, for having taste, but there you go.
Gotta comment on the music, because you know how much of a VG music nut I am. The soundtrack was composed, and yes, we have notes here, much like in the Mega Man 4 playthrough. I'm not sure which will come first in the HellfireComms timeline. It was composed by Hidenori Meizawa. I apologise to the whole of Japan for these pronunciations. He was a composer...
We just apologise in general, though.
Thank you, Eldragon. He was a composer for Goonies 2 and many more. He had Jun Funahashi, who worked on the infamous Ninja Turtles game, among other things, and Yuki Morimoto, who worked on Gradius 2, etc. And the Japanese version, it apparently had a specialised sound chip, and this means it had like a couple of extra layers on it. Feel free to go on YouTube and check this out, because God knows I'm not going to splice it in, but the music in the Japanese one is apparently better and more built-up, but I don't care, it's a good soundtrack either way.
I mean, it's Castlevania. Castlevania has always had this history of having fantastic music. And by the way, I love how back in the day, since games were on physical media, they had to introduce special chips to get more graphics, to get better music. It's a lost art, I think, and I kind of miss that now.
We mentioned this, me and Smoothies, way back in our Star Fox 64 playthrough, but you know the people who made the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone PS1 game that you, me, Richie and Mexi commented on?
Good plug, yes, I agree.
It's a good playthrough. Argonaut Software, or whatever their full name is, developed the Super FX chip.
Really?
Hey, do you know what the Super FX chip is?
I actually believe I do, because I've seen it on an old episode of a local access Game Pro magazine themed TV show. It was one where I believe they introduced this around the time the Genesis was already out. I believe that was the case. And it was basically, again, a tool to take NES games and really drive them farther. I want to say...
No, it was Super Nintendo games, mate.
Nintendo, okay.
It was Star Fox. I wanted to cut you off, but you wouldn't shut up. I mean, what's wrong? It's like you're doing commentary or something.
Something was Super, and I believe it was used for games like, I want to say Gun Knack, but I'm probably wrong.
Pretty simple for a first boss, especially if you've got the holy water. Just chuck it at him, he's like, oh no, cleanliness, and then he just dies on the spot. And here we see the branching paths that Helldragon mentioned earlier. I love this mechanic. We're going to go the way I went on my initial run, so we won't be seeing certain characters like Grant or Alucard, more of which later. And yes, I know the name Alucard might sound familiar to some of you Castlevania fans out there. So we're going to head into the Mad Forest, level 3.
Now I'm just remembering when you and I watched Arano play this on Game Center CX, and the dude just had a bitch of a time with some areas.
Oh, I love Game Center CX so much.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like only one subgroup is subbing it these days, because I'm waiting for them to sub Super Potoden too. I really want to see that.
First appearance of the ghosts, not too hard, but these little guys just love to pop out of literally nowhere. So give them a couple of peps and they're gone.
I admit, like I've said before, I mostly am familiar with the Metroidvania versions of Castlevania games, so it's kind of neat to watch these old games and kind of see where enemies I recognize from those games first originally showed up in these 2D side-scrollers. Although, like James Rolfe has said as well, I was rewatching his Castlevania stuff the other day, actually, and I would love to see something new akin to Super Castlevania 4, because I love that game, and hopefully you'll cover it down the line, too.
Well, I'm in a bit of a Castlevania frenzy right now, so I definitely want to cover Super Castlevania 4. I kind of want to cover Aria of Sorrow, because
If you do Aria of Sorrow, I actually know, a shit ton about that, so I would actually be a great commentator for that.
Like Liam of the Zaibatsu, or to use their non-weeb name, the Super Best Friends play. It's fucking killing that game, and it's pretty great, but regardless, back to Castlevania 3. This part of the Mad Forest is a bitch and a half if you don't have a throwing item, like a cross which can go horizontally across the screen, or an axe which goes in an overhead arc. Personally, I favour the axe, but just work with what you have. Otherwise, I hope you've got good reflexes, or you're going to be fucked up by birds.
Well, don't worry, we have save states for that, right?
Yes, Helldragon. Don't reveal my power, it's the only thing I have left.
I'm just saying, that's I'm trying to think of your Mega Man weakness. What stops save states? Legitimacy. That's your weakness.
The file corruption, I guess.
And these are actually red skeletons, or sometimes called blood skeletons. They tend to reassemble after a while, so you want to move fast.
Well, tend to is kind of overstretching it. They definitely reassemble, so be careful, because later in the game they get armed with whips, and that's just a fun time for all. You got the flea men, they're back, or the hunchmen, as you can also call them.
Man, I'm getting and obviously I know because this game I'm about to mention was designed after NES and MSX, kind of computers, but, I'm getting a real La Mulana vibe here. Have you ever seen any La Mulana stuff? You ever played it, anything like that?
Is that the game Deceased Crab has played 10,000 times?
Yeah, he's pretty much made a Let's Play career out of that. Man, I wish he put up more stuff, but I guess he's been doing it a lot for years, so I'm not going to harp on it.
Fucking love his playthroughs of the Trilby/Chizo Mythos game, some of my favourite Let's Plays. We're going to continue along the upper path here, because there's an alternate character I want to go.
Yeah, and that's the another big feature of this game. Like I said earlier, you can unlock alternate characters that you can actually switch between and take on your team. What's annoying though is that you can only get one at a time. If you get one and then you go beat another guy and you get access to another one, the first person will leave you. I'm I always thought they would all just kind of work together, but that makes no sense,
Well, you'd be insanely overpowered if you had 4 people on your team you could just switch between.
Well, that's true, but a lot of them do have particular weaknesses, especially Alucard.
Now, you can get to this level after doing the clock tower stage, which is you go up a thing, there's like Medusa heads and whirring cogs, you beat Grant, who we'll get to in a bit, and then you come back down in like reverse order. But whatever, we're just going to carry on regardless. There's loads of jellyfish, plant pod things here. You probably saw me destroying them and the seeds they shoot out. Not too much of a challenge. Now we have to deal with spiders that shoot smaller spiders. Oh god!
Oh yeah, you're not a spider fan, are you?
Oh, no. Hey, here's a little bit of an anecdote for you. One time, me and Tundra Boy were watching a film called Arachnophobia in class, in our school, and you know what that fucker did? He liked to run his hand up my arm every so often, the bastard man.
That's, Well, okay, first off, let's go on a different tangent. Let me question the wisdom of watching a film called Arachnophobia in school. Now, I say that, but I distinctly remember one time I was in biology class, and for some fucking reason that they never explained, the teacher's like, we're watching Monsters, Inc. today. And I'm like, fuck it, I don't care, man.
Well, schools love to do that, because it keeps the kids entertained, and fuck it, the minute that television rolls into the classroom, all eyes are on it and nothing else is getting done that day. Alright, first appearance of the Cyclops boss. This guy does reappear. Castlevania 3 unfortunately does repeat bosses from time to time, but fortunately they are pretty easy. Just pep him on the lower block and then jump up when he comes around. Throwing axes work a treat here.
What's he, going on a walk or something? It's just, this isn't really fighting me, you know?
I know that's a mace, but it looks like he's carrying like a duffel bag or something.
I just assume it's like a giant rock attached to a chain, you know?
Oh, what a shot.
Nicely done.
Grab the red orb, still don't know what it does, and get all our health back. Oh wait, we've got full health already, because I ain't no fucking pleb.
Well, I guess the red orb also gives you useful points.
Well, what do points make lives?
Nah. Huh? So just back off, you know, it's like a lady, I don't even know.
Sypha, I guess, is that how you pronounce it?
Well, her name is Sylpha. S-Y-L, P-H-A... Oh, fuck, that's really bad.
You're reading the notes here, aren't you?
I'm not reading the notes, I just know her name's Sylpha, and, one of the characters in Aria Sorrow is actually descended from this very person.
Yes, Sypha or Cypher, whatever. Miss Belnade's here. And yes, the text does say it's a he, but spoilers, it's a woman. I guess they were going for a Samus kind of thing. And she's blonde as well. Whatever, she's a mage, and her sub-weapons are spellbooks. These come in 3 flavours. Red, which can shoot out a horizontal whip-like fire blast. Blue, for an ice scatter shot that can freeze enemies and projectiles, and waterways that you can walk on top of, which is pretty great. And the last one, which is like a lightning spell which shoots out 3 things of lightning and basically destroys everything on screen. I've never ever found this. Apparently it's super rare. Fire, at least for me, seems to be the most common spell.
You know, you're describing those books here, and she sounds really useful. Like, what's her drawback?
She's a little bit like Aqua in Kingdom Hearts, honestly. Great at magic, can't tank a hit.
Well, okay, she's the mage. Like, that's what happens when you put the mage on point, I suppose.
This ghost ship level here, stage 4A, if you will, pretty straightforward. The only thing you have to look out for is some tricky platforming later on, and I believe like a Gorgon mini-boss, but I think we should talk about the other characters now. The first one is like a little acrobat dude called Grant Dynasty, and he's the boss of the clock tower level, turned into a demon and all that. Once you beat him, you can opt to take him with you, or you can leave him behind, it's up to you, I won't judge. He can climb on walls and ceilings, change directions while jumping, which is a fucking godsend in later levels, let me tell you. He can jump really high and far, and in the Japanese version, I think he can attack with his dagger without using hearts, but his sub-weapons are the axe, dagger, and stopwatch. The downside to his platforming prowess is that he's not really strong offensively or defensively, and he's got a small attack range. Do you want to talk about the other character? Because I feel I'm waffling a bit too much here.
I can talk about him from what I know. The second one is Alucard. We've mentioned that before. Alucard, most Castlevania fans do tend to know as the main character of Symphony of the Night, that PS1 game that pretty much set the standard for 2D Castlevania going on forward as a, seamless overworld Metroid type of game. In this game, he doesn't look nearly as dashing or bishy.
Yeah.
He actually has short black cropped hair, although I do like him in Aria Sorrow. But other than that, he has like vampiric abilities. He can turn into a bat. I think he can turn into mist or things like that. His main deal is that he's actually really super fucking slow, and if he gets hit as a bat, he'll get knocked out of it, which can be annoying if you're trying to use him to bypass certain obstacles. So I guess it really does depend on how challenging you want your game to be, because Grant, because of his long range ability, he sounds like more of a beginner's type of character than, say, Alucard.
Alucard also has a long-range thing called the Balls of Destruction, or Hellfire. You'd know this best as Dracula's attack in his first form in the original game, and you can upgrade that much like you can upgrade Trevor's whip, going from 1 fireball to 2 to 3. And yeah, he has a long-distance attack. He can fly, so long as you've hearts to spare. That's cool, right? Well, not only is his character model super tall, but he can't attack while climbing or descending stairs. So, I hope you like flying everywhere, because there's a lot of those kinds of sequences in Castlevania 3.
And Silva just fucked the shit out of that thing.
Many a take to get a run that smooth, let me tell you what.
I believe it, man. Although I gotta be honest, watching Silpha, do the business here, she seems like to be a pretty good choice all around, depending on, any skill level.
Well, as long as you have... I think she's described as, like, the hard mode of the game, because, Trevor, his, jumping and attack power is said to be pretty weak, and, without magic, this chick's only power is to whack things with a little weedy stick, so, Alucard can fly, Grant can climb on stuff, Silpha/Sifa, not so much.
Yeah, that's true. Take what you can get, I suppose. Okay, you're just showing off back there with a little moonwalk.
No, I actually have a lot of trouble, going up and down stairs, because... it's a little bit awkward, it kind of locks you into the stairs, and you have to, hold down or up to go down, or up them.
Yeah, I also noticed that Silpha is really dependent on hearts, the ammo of Castlevania. I still never got that. Why hearts?
Kind of a subversion of the, the 2D platformer trope at the time, I guess.
I feel like chicken tonight, I don't know about you.
Roasted crow.
Has anyone ever actually eaten crow? I know that's an expression. Oh, well, I've eaten crow. Did anybody actually ever sit down and eat crow? What does it taste like?
I guess Mr. Literal did it.
Mr. Literal. He's always doing idioms and other things.
Whenever I'm on, a spooky ship, my mind always goes back to, I think it was one of the final seasons of Nightmare. That friggin' Golden Galleon or whatever it was.
Well, you would know. They didn't air Nightmare over here. Instead, we got other great shows such as, Where in Time and, Where in the World, and then Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. That was actually a really good game show. Then we had this really weird kids version of Wheel of Fortune with some ugly fucking CGI replacement for Vanna White. It was, terrifying, man.
Remember these guys from the first game?
Yes, I remember mummies. I know what those are like. Here, let me step out for you.
Yeah, switch back to Trevor just so he can get in on this boss fun. And it's this guy again already.
I'm just going for a walk. Oh, no, now he's going for a run.
It's okay though, because this guy's purple and therefore very different.
Exactly, that must be his classmate. At least this time, you actually kind of have to jump over him. You can't just go up another level and avoid him completely.
Yeah, that's an added bit of depth to this strategy, I guess.
Yeah, I want to see the strategy guide for this, There's a big bowl in the center. We can make some really good pasta with that.
Reaching now, aren't you, Hell Dragon?
Do what you can.
Oh, without notes, he is useless, boys and girls.
Also, because you didn't give me any notes.
You've got, fucking paragraphs of shit here, don't give me that. Ah, well, what are you gonna do? Let's see if Helldragon gets his fabled bowl of pasta in the next part of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. See you all then.